Take you along here. It's about the middle of January up here in Minnesota, and it's cold. And in my shop, I've been running out of room to work lately on things that I enjoy working on. Now, on a farm, there's always things you have to work on, and you need space for that. I get that. But you also need space for sometimes your projects and your fun things. For about the last decade, I've been kind of struggling to fit in some of my fun areas. One of them being obviously my rifles and my shell making equipment and the reloading, and of course the other one is some of my archery stuff. Well, the long and short of it is I've been blessed to be able to get a few things and get them sent to me, and I've got some good friends. Shout out to them that gave me some ideas that I think will make my shop better. I am going to have to sell a couple pieces of equipment, and that's not bad. I wasn't using the old bandsaw anyways, and the table saw was a little big and bulky, and I'll just go with a job site table saw to make things work. But I'm going to free some room up, and I'm going to try and do something a little different. I know online you can learn about like archery and stuff by going to some pretty cool places, Podium Archery, Last Chance Archery, watch Chris and his videos. You can see some of the guys shooting, and most of them got these nice arrow shops and these nice big wooden walls where they've got all their presses and stuff in it, and that's pretty cool. I do enjoy it. I think it's neat. There's several people out there that advanced archery, stuff like that. They've got bow shops, they've got areas they can work, and that's all great. But the little guy like me just doesn't have that. I'm much more tight and packed in here, and it just makes it a lot harder to get things done. I've got a couple tool craftsman things in the winter time. I've got some things I can't freeze, some motors and water pressures and stuff. I've got tools sitting over here along the back and some storage stuff. And basically I've got a 20 by 30 that's heated here for a shop space, and I got to get everything in it. So the only way to do that sometimes is be real creative. So I thought I would show what I've been working on for probably about the last 4 or 5 weeks. And it's kind of been done in stages. One of the stages I worked on at the beginning was just digging through my stuff and figuring out how much I had for a particular discipline. I was able to arrange my reloading station and kind of make a small area for my rifle stuff. But in going through that, I realized I had way too much archery stuff. So it was time to cut back, give some things over to my relatives and stuff, and let them have a chance at, learning the sport and doing it. And I put the time in to see if I can condense things down to an area I can work and make it manageable. And it took a little bit of thought process. I'm not going to say it was easy. But I want to show you what I came up with. I took a stand and made it so that I could do as much work as I possibly could in a small space, and tried to keep under a budget. Now, the budget's a budget, but I said I'm not going to spend more than $1,000 on my archery stuff. I'm going to see if I can get it down to a mobile area that I could use within the shop and push out of my way. So I'll walk you along on what I did, folks.
So to start with, I started cleaning out this area, moving things on the ground. I'm still going to make a bow hanger and get my bows hung up, and try to clean out the area around the back of the saw and get some of my archery stuff out. And as I started realizing I have more stuff than I probably need. My back bench table here is full of stuff that I need to get moved here. Some of it's firearms, some of it's archery, my archery bag, stuff like that, so that I can get to all my little drawers of stuff. My arrows sit out here on the workbench where I do a lot of my fletching stuff. I need to get those out of the way. I need to get my arrow holder finally up. I've had that for a while and I just never put it up. And I need to get some of these arrows fixed and refletched. I plan on keeping my rifle stuff right here, but all this arrow stuff out of my way. All my nocks, my levels, my vise, get all this stuff out of here, which just constantly gets in my way. I have to take it in and out, in and out, in and out. And I don't have a place for a bow press. I never have. So I'm going to try and get all this stuff out of here, and I'm going to try and unbox some things that are boxed up. My fletching kits and stuff here are boxed up. I'm going to see if I can get those unboxed for once. I'm going to see if I can mount my vise permanently. Again, I just like to and my blitz there to see if I get that thing on the table. It's just so many things that I have that are just kind of all over the place. It makes it hard. So I came up with this kind of idea that I'm going to repurpose a couple things. I'm going to take a stand like this, not this particular one, but one just like it. I'm going to take some of my tools off it that are going to move over to the archery table, and I'm going to repurpose this little stand with, you know, the rulers on it and everything. I'm going to put a new top on it, and I'm going to repurpose this into an archery bench. I think it'll work actually really well. This one has wheels on it, and I love it. So I had to go online and spend a little bit of money and find some wheels. So that I did here. I found a wheel tray. This is pretty nice. It's like a portamat, and it can lift up and down and lock in place. And this is going to work perfect for what I want. And then I got myself the stand. And, you know, whether you use a used one like I'm doing or you buy one, they're not that expensive on Amazon. I'll try to put a list in the video of everything I spent, because I did buy that used. And then I got myself a butcher block piece of wood from Menards, and I'm going to make that my top. And I'm going to put it on this repurposed table. And I'm going to make this my new archery bench, so to speak. So this is what I'm working on. It just takes a little bit of time. Getting it all kind of set in the bottom and getting the measurements of this wheel thing took a little bit. And then from here on out, it's probably about, I don't know, maybe 4 hours of love and labor over the next few weeks for me to get this thing going. So I'm going to kind of speed it up in time-lapse version so you're not bored by everything I did. But so at this point, I've got on wheels, a Craftsman stand. I've opened up a spot here on the floor, so I'm kind of gonna just make this be what it needs to be. And I need the shelf to be a little bigger so I can come up to it with a stool and work. I want it so it's movable, so I can move it around. So I got a butcher block, and I'm making it fit the table with about an 8-inch overhang on this little table on wheels. And then this piece of butcher block I'm going to cut off. I'm going to turn into some things that I've kind of always wanted on my archery table. First of all, I want more places to hold arrows that are drying, arrows I'm working on, arrows that need repair. I also would like a nice glue stand. I've got bottles of glue, I've got insert glue, I've got fletching glue, I've got some carbon glues that I use. And you know what? It's kind of a pain not to have a place for them. And for my rifle stuff, I've even got a couple, you know, like not like Loctite glues, but, you know, turn down screw glues that are made for scopes and stuff. And just be nice to be able to have some of that down. So I cut the bench to the top, this butcher block top. I think it's 1.5 inches thick or 1.25 inches, and it's a birch top. So yeah, it might get scratched up, might get some glue on it, but welcome to the world of practicality. But I cut it down so that there's about 8 inches of overhang everywhere I need it, which is great. And as you can see, I'm going to kick the video into kind of high speed. My son here helped me out a lot with it, and so did my daughter, because obviously they're in it. And then I got this thing screwed from the underside, so there's no screws on the top of it, and that was quite nice. Now I could have taken off the particle top of this stand, but I decided to keep it and use it for kind of a screwing base to screw into, and boy, that turned out to be a really good deal. So, you know, when you're looking at a stand that doesn't cost much, and you're trying to, you know, make this kind of, you know, like budget wise work for you, to me that was the way to go. I'm real pleased with the way it went. The stand itself, I think I got for $70, and the wheelbase I think I picked up for $40. So, you know, I'm $150 into it, which then allowed me to spend the money on other things, which in this case, like I said, one of the things I'm going to do is put my press on it. I do have a press, but I wanted a nicer press, so I reached out to some guys and got myself a better press, so to speak. So that was very, very helpful for me. So that is the dirt on that. So on this part of it here, I'm just kind of moving along. I'm trying to kind of set some things on the table and get them organized. That's my arrow saw, the die cut. I'm trying to put some boxes in. I'm starting to bring my fletching equipment out. I'm just trying to, you know, get things situated. I'm playing with a paper towel holder too. it probably sounds nuts to spend, $8 and bring in a magnetic paper towel holder, but it's just an Amazon paper towel holder. And I really can use that when I'm fletching. So that's something that's kind of important to me to get on. As I'm hooking up my saw, I typically kept my saw in a box, and I have like an Easton kit for arrow prepping, and it's a hand kit. It's this one right here, 9-piece arrow prep toolkit, and I've really enjoyed it, but I've never liked the hand way, and I've seen a lot of bow shops where these things are on like a plate. I think you can get them from Last Chance Archery, and you just run your arrows over the top. Well, I have the Last Chance Archery arrow holder, which I've never installed on anything, and I'm going to try and make it dual purpose. So basically here what I'm doing is I'm punching holes in this thing and then putting a nut on the bottom of these, and I'm putting these on the arrow holder so that I can make the arrow holder hold the arrows and also be my tool prep location, which is fantastic. And since I don't know exactly where this goes at this point on the bench, I'm just kind of putting it together. So I need to kind of make things compact. I'm going to use the middle shelf for storage. The bottom of this unit I'm probably going to shelf out here. I'm going to put my tool cutter on it, and then of course I'm going to put the press on it. Everybody's got their press favorites. I'm no different. I do a shout out to Podium Archery because those guys have given me a lot of advice, and it's been helpful. So I'm going with an easy press. I'm gonna do one that's got the ability to 90 degree swing the bow. So give or take about a $700 press. So with the press and the table and the butcher block top, and I'm probably going to buy a stand for it. I think I'm into this for about $890 or something. But again, I'll put all that down on the bottom. There's different presses you can do. You can certainly make it more affordable. You don't have to put a press on like this. I mean, get yourself a pack and go for, probably, I'm guessing maybe $500. I know if you go to Podium Archery, you can get yourself, what is it called? The green, I think it's the Easy Green bow press, I think for like 400. And they're good about shipping this stuff out. So certainly you can even get this more affordable, but heck, working on this stuff for years, helping out 4-Hers. I'm one of the archery coaches that works with them. And, a lot of times you just got to give your time, and it's not always on the range. Sometimes you're fixing their equipment. So with that being the case, and I finally got a bow press, I'm going to officially mount my bow vise. Now, everybody's got their bow vices. This is not a review video on bow vices. But, whether it be a BAP or whether you got an OMP or whether you've got a Revolution, I've always wanted to do like some of the bow shops do and put it on my press so that I could use it right at the same location as everything else. So that's exactly what I did. So I mounted my Revolution bow vise, which I gotta admit, I don't always use this bow vise for bows. I put it on in such a way that when I turn this press out of my way, I can still put my pistols in it, I can still put my rifles in it, and I can do some work on it, which is fantastic, by the way. Absolutely fantastic. So I've got that mounted on now too. So the Revolution's on there, the bow press is on there. I'm just got it sitting there right now, the arrow stand. I've got my arrow cutter. I don't know if you can see on the arrow cutter there too, but I've got my file system, which I use a flip to file the ends of the shafts of the carbon fiber, which is great. I'm going to set some arrows up in here just so you can see. I'm a big fan of Easton arrows. I know everybody's got their preference. I get that too, but they've been the ones that have worked out the best for me. I've got boxes of fletching, so I want a place for those too. And I started setting them on the top of this bench, going, wow, they're taking up too much room. And I've got packages of lighted nocks. As I've gotten older, I enjoy the lighted nock even more. I love my Luminox. I like to see them at a distance, even when I'm target shooting. So I decided I had to make more room. So I took my flip, which is my file, and I mounted that to my cutter there for my arrows, my die cut or D cut, wherever they pronounce that machine. And I stuck that right onto there, which is fantastic. So that being on the arrow cutting saw, that saves some space. And then I realized that, well, wait a minute, if I mess with where I put the paper towel roll and move that out of the way, I probably could buy some magnetic holders and I could start getting all my fletching stuff underneath the edge of the table, so it's at least handy where I need it. So I started kind of playing with things with that. I brought my magnetic trays out, cleaned them up, got them on the top. One thing nice about a bow press, it's all metal, so magnets work great. And I do like magnetic trays because I keep all my target tips in it. I like to keep my scissors up there. I like to keep my serving up there. And it's like, wow, this will be great. Then I realized I needed power. So I did go back to Menards and buy a metal power strip that's rated for pretty high amps. I think it's a 20 amp version. But not that I need that much. I just wanted the ruggedness of it. And I like the metal body of it versus them cheap plastic ones. And I mounted that onto the far side of the table underneath. And that was fantastic. So basically I got a power strip. So all I got to do is plug into the wall my power strip, and then everything on it is ready to go. Like the cutting saw there for the arrows. And my cutting saw has a foot pedal. So I put the foot pedal on the lower shelf. So all I got to do is take it off the lower shelf and I can step on it and I can run that. So that's what I'm doing in this part of the video. The other thing you can see there towards the back of the video is you can see that I've got my blitz up there. I've got how they say it, Boeing arrow Fletcher on there. I think my Easton one's on there. So I've got all those kind of down to one end, and that's fine, but I need some actual physical space. So, I gotta get the nocks, I gotta get my cases out of the way, I gotta get things hung up, and I think that'll help a lot. So you can see down towards the bottom there where I'm putting the electrical thing in, I've also mounted an arrow quiver so I can just stick arrows in there as I'm working on them and stuff. Because, there are times where I come home from 4-H or church or whatever, and a 4-H'er will come up to me with, a half dozen arrows that, over the course of a year, they've, hurt the fletchings on or broken some nocks on and stuff like that. So a lot of times I have that stuff that I need to just help those kids out with. And again, try to do it at an affordable way for them. I've got a great bow shop, probably about maybe 20 miles from me. It's Full Draw. They're excellent at helping out 4-H'ers too. But sometimes these kids just don't have a lot of money, and a parent doing a little bit of work with a glue bottle can really help them out. So at this point, I've now got the cutting saw, my arrow stands on it for drying arrows. I've got the press on it. I'm into it for about $850, and it's really, really starting to come to life. And I've got a nice small footprint, and it's on wheels. So I'm very, very pleased with how it's coming together. As you can see, it's pretty dark outside. I'm doing this a lot at night. Now I start kind of measuring because I need to punch a hole in the top so I can start running some cords underneath so I get some of my power equipment out of the way. Occasionally I've used a Dremel. I occasionally use a little etching tool. Obviously the cutting saw there needs power. So I'm going to punch a hole through the top, run the wires down to the bottom, run the foot pedal down to the bottom, just so it's out of the way and it's cleaner. So absolutely fantastic. I messed around a little bit, whether, again, I could put the paper towel roll underneath or not. I ended up putting it right back where it was, but that's kind of the way things go when you're in the business of trying to compact things. Sometimes you have to kind of try it. And when I mounted, by the way, the press, I mounted it in such a way that it does clear the bench when it rotates, but I also mounted it in such a way that it'll clear those arrows when they're in the arrow stand too. So you got to kind of think about that stuff, so that you don't, bolt it all together and go, whoops, I can't turn it, can't move it, stuff like that. So either way, I was able to make it work, and that was quite nice. One of the kind of tricky parts for a bench like this for me is keeping it mobile too and not hitting the wall. So I did have to put a couple bumpers there so when I push it against the wall, I don't dent my shop wall to pieces and kids moving it around and so forth. So I'm pretty sure my daughters will be in here fletching a few arrows and stuff soon after I get this thing finally completed, which is quite nice. I had this question a few times on doing work and stuff, and I get it from a lot of parents and stuff. They're like, yeah, we watch all these great videos, you know, Chris B, and, you know, you watch some of these videos, you know, Advanced Archery and Archery Techniques 101 and, you know, Arrow Builder and, you know, Podium Archery and, you know, MFJJ and all these guys. And, you know, how needed is the press? I can tell you in my personal opinion, I'm just small-time farmer here. I got, you know, 5 kids on the bows and a bunch of 4-Hers. To me, start with a vise, folks. Start with a vise. Yes, I get it. Without a press, it's hard to change, you know, bus cables and strings. Without a press, there's a few alignment things that are kind of difficult and tricky. I get that. But there's a lot of things you can do with a press for a couple $100 before you get to that point. With a vise, a couple $100 before you get to that point of needing a press for $400 to $500. So these are those magnets. I like these things. You know, you can get them at Lowe's and Home Depot and Menards. And once I got that, I turned my attention to the other piece of butcher block material. I cut a couple pieces off it and sanded them up, and I started playing with my tools to get them to fit. And it took a little bit of figuring it out. But I wanted, you know, my Allen wrenches on it, which is what I'm doing here. I wanted my levels on it. I've got a bunch of Heska levels that I like, or Hamsky levels, I should say, that I like. I had to punch a bunch of holes. I know I'm showing it real fast here, but I just don't want to bore you with all the gobbledygook with it here, okay? I punched a couple holes for glue containers in it. I got my Allen wrenches on it. I got my Hamsky levels on it, both my arrow levels, my string levels on it. I've got a couple metal rulers that I really like. I've got a map dial on it, and I like that for just looking at arrow straightness and just making sure things are in tune. And I've never had a place for this stuff. This stuff has literally been in bins or in boxes. So to make something like this, oh, it was fantastic. It was kind of fun to do. So as you can see, I'm putting the Allen wrenches in and just trying to line things up. I've got the levels in it. I know, it's putsy, it's anal, but, you know, again, I want to be able to hold things and keep it nice. So here I am kind of putting it all together again and getting it on the table. It's coming together fast. I'll slow it down here at the end so you can kind of see everything put together. You know, I also had a bunch of Boeing pocket quivers, and they are nice. I do enjoy a pocket quiver, and I had a bunch that don't have pocket clips on them anymore, and I thought, you know what, I never have enough room to put arrows that I want to work on versus arrows that I've completed working on. So like the Last Chance archery stand where you saw me put the little arrow prep thing on, that's a nice stand for drying fletchings, but sometimes you just want a spot to put arrows that you need to work on in. So again, I took the drill press and I took a little bit more of that butcher block material that I still have laying around from when I cut it off. I think that original piece was, gosh, I think it was 24 by 48 inches. And I routed into it a couple slots or like pockets where I can put these pocket quivers in. And I instantly, you know, turned this little, I don't know, 8-inch by like 6-inch piece of butcher block into a nice arrow holder where I can put like, you know, I think my pockets hold 5. So I think I can put 15 arrows in it. And that's just sweet for me because there's just never enough room for these. And because I've got it on this extra piece of wood, I can just pick it up and set it on the ground or get it out of my way if I need to when I'm on the little stand I'm making. So again, it becomes very, very, very functional. It took me a few minutes to figure out how to get it deep enough and get it routed in right. I had to use a 1/2-inch router, and I'm not the worst, you know, craftsman when it comes to wood, but it does take me a little bit. I'm really not fast at it. I don't have the skill set yet. And yes, I am doing it on a stool. I'm sure somebody's going to comment and tell me you should be doing it on a workbench. But the reality is I got so many things around going on. Space is, again, very, very limited. So I got that made too, and that's a pretty cool little thing. Just take little pocket quivers, routed them into a piece of wood. The wood's nice and dense and thick, and bang, I've got instant arrow holder to go along with the LCA arrow holder there that I got for drying. So kind of put that little devil together. There it is. Set it on the table. I'm lining things up. I'm putting in at this point, I'm putting in the draw board into the end of the press, which was nice. The draw board I got used out of Canada, so that was a steal for me. But again, you can make a draw board yourself, or you can buy one. But I got one that fits in the ends of this, and it was used. eBay, Craigslist, Amazon, whatever you gotta do, folks, to save a buck. That put me just a little bit over, I think, $1,000 when I got said and done getting that in. Took a piece of plywood. I had a 4x6 sheet. I think this is 3/4 inch thick, and I trimmed it down to make a bottom shelf out of this stand. What I realized when I bought the wheels for this is the stand sits in the four corners, and there's about 1.5 inches of extra stand or wheel stand than what there is leg stand. And I thought about it, and I said, well, if I cut a piece of plywood just right and cut the angled corners on it and do some measurements, I can get a third shelf on this. And that's exactly what I did. So I took the top, put a butcher block over it. The shelf, the used one here that you can get on Amazon for like $70 or probably a little more, has a middle shelf on it. It's kind of made out of particle board, and it's fine. It's thick enough. I think it's 1 inch particle. But I took 3/4 inch, OSB board with a smooth surface, and I made a third shelf underneath it. And that's fantastic because now I got a place to put my broadhead case. Now I got a place to put my leveling tools. I got a place to put my 4-H go bag, or what I call go bag. It's got a first aid kit in it. It's got some basic tools for on the range, Allen wrenches, stuff like that, some extra field tips, some few knocks, whatever I need, whistle in it, stuff that I need for the kids when we're out there, working with them. So I plop that sucker underneath it, and now I've got 3 shelves. So I can literally pull my stools up to this thing and sit and work from either side. I can stand next to it. I can wheel it out of my way. I can do a simple plug-in with one plug, and I've got power to it. And at the same time, I can back away from this, throw my bags underneath it, throw my boxes, stuff underneath it, and it's all there. I'm really pleased with how it kind of came together. Granted, sure, might have looked a little cooler if I'd used maybe a straight, smooth top piece of plywood, but I had the OSB around, and it's nice 3/4, so it's really thick and strong, and I think it'll work really good for this table idea that I have. So this is almost the end now. I mean, this is kind of like my final step, trying to get this thing to fit. And by the way, that isn't an easy piece of wood to get in there. I mean, it made it easy to measure and cut it out, but I didn't realize how tricky it was going to be to get in. So I do end up bringing one of my daughters in just to figure out how to get this into the stand, because it was a little tight. I had to do some trimming off it and so forth to get it to fit. And when you're trimming with hand circular saws and stuff, lines aren't perfectly straight, but I try my best. Again, my craftsman skills aren't that bad for a farmer, but it's the way it is. So we did some lifting up and moving around and taking it in and out and playing with it, but we eventually got it in place and completely functional, which is what we wanted. So that went really well. I'm very pleased with it. Once we got that in place, it was kind of like clean it up, check and make sure everything works. I added the last tray to the press. I wanted this tray because I wanted it for things like servings and scissors and just miscellaneous things that you need on a bow press, D-loop, stuff like that. Then I finally decided, okay, now that I got all that in place, I'll mount down the LCA arrow holder. I drilled a couple holes in the bottom of it, in the middle of it, because it was more stable than where they have the holes on the back of it, and measured it up, and I punched that down onto the table, so that's not going to move. And then that gives me a spot then that I can butt the arrow cutting saw right up against. Now the arrow cutting saw is not mounted down, so if I unplug its cord, I can take it off and have more workspace. But I feel like I got plenty of workspace for the arrows when working with them. So I don't think it's detrimental. I found a nice spot kind of tucked in on the back side of the LCA arrow holder to put my new arrow holder that I made out of those pocket quivers. And this is kind of how it's all coming together. So I'm going to kind of slow this down here for a minute and just kind of walk you through it. So from this view, as you can see, I've got the storage underneath for my different containers. The plywood's in. The rolling wheels here, the Portamat is excellent. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm real appreciative I put this shelf in. I've got my cases where I keep some of my extra stuff, and like I said, my brown 4H bag there with all my, tools and stuff. The next level up, I've got, the foot pedal sitting in it here for a second. I got boxes, extra vise parts, fletching stuff, extra sights, peep sights, inline sights. You can see the backside there of the magnetic holders. I got my Luminox on there that I like. I got my paper towel roll on there. It's all on magnet. I can move it from side to side. I can move it from end to end. I don't have to keep it in this spot. That's fantastic. I think the magnets hold like 20 pounds, so it's way overkill. I've got a few extra parts and containers. As you can see, I've got some fletching angles for the left and center all sitting down there for my blitz. I've got another little black and gray box there that's just full of really sharp broadheads for me. And all I got to do is grab this one cord, plug it in, and I got power to the whole table, which is fantastic, which I really like. So that worked out really well for me. The unit's a little heavy, and it's not tippy at all. I thought it'd be a little tippier with that big press hanging off the end, and especially on the side where the cord is. It is not. It is well balanced, and especially when you put the feet on the ground. I've got all my magnetic trays on the top of it here. I've got my scale here that I can stick on my drawboard, and I can pull with that. I got my vise underneath, which becomes much more accessible when I rotate 90 degrees the press. So I've been able to put that. And that is the Revolution's a clamp on, so it isn't like I couldn't take it off if I needed to. I have a little level I mounted on it because I do like my press to be somewhat level. It doesn't have to be perfectly level, but for us anal people and mental people, it's something I need. So things look good as far as how this kind of side all went together. I love how it came. And again, I can rotate this 90 degrees, and then that big wheel is out of my way. I've got my tray for my serving. I got scissors. I got more peep sight stuff sitting in here. I got some D-loop towards the back, another Allen wrenches. It's just a nice tray. If you can afford it, it's a nice splurge. My arrow rack is now screwed down to the table. The D-cut, die-cut, whatever you call that, that is not. I can pick it up and move it. And, I've got some fletching stuff laying here. I've got the Easy Fletch there, sitting there, which is the old Arizona Easy Fletch made by Easton. I did not mount permanently down my blitz. I like it to be movable. I have not mounted down my Boeing either. I've got my scale out here. I've got my glues, my little glue board that I made. I love it. It's all completely movable. I can pick it up and take it off. My Hamsky levels are in there, all my metal devices. I've got my Allen wrenches on there, and they've got a nice hole. So I'm not going, where's my Allen wrench? And if my kids take my Allen wrench, I can see the empty hole and bug them because I can get it back. The digital scale is nice. I got a little arrow holder on it, which I like. I've had that for a while. There's my arrow holders made out of the pocket quivers. Like I said, it's fantastic. 15 to 16 arrows can fit in those little devils. I've got this part of the tray where I got my bow scales on it. Just really nice. Here's my little arrow prep area. It's how it kind of turned out there from big to small. Because obviously some 4-Hers have bigger arrows than others. And you can just, when you want to prep an arrow, just slide over the top and use it. It's really nice. Easton makes replaceables of those too if you need it. I can easily go out to about 35 inches here on my cutting, and it fits on the table. So that is sweet. I love it. It makes it really nice to be able to work. I've already cut a couple arrows on this since I made it. I've got my flip on here, the G flip, so I can file things on either end and make that work. And as you can see where my hands are, I've got some nice working space. I've got the ability to sit down on my stool here, which I'm sitting right now here for the camera, and I got a little area where I can just kind of work, and I like it. I like it a lot, and if I need more space, I'll just remove the cutting tool. So I'm very pleased. As you can see, I'm pulling it out from the table. I can wheel it one-handed. For as heavy as this thing is, it wheels one hand, and it's not tippy at all. I've no fear of tipping over, which is fantastic. So I'm going to kind of give you kind of the last tip up look here. I'm just going to break this free and tip it up. This is how I've learned to kind of like to store it. I enjoy storing it this way. I just open up the handle and I let the thing tip up, and then it's out of my way. And then that way, if I want to get to the vise, it's a lot easier too. And it probably looks like I'm close to the wall, but remember, simple one-hand grab if the wheels are down, and I can pull this whole unit out from the wall and get much more space for the vise. I'm really pleased with how much stuff in my workbench in my different areas of my shop that I was able to get in such a small platform. I just love it. I can bring my vise out. I can vise in my bows right at the handle, which is what I like to do because I'm not the biggest fan of limb grabbing, but I can do it. I can tip this thing up with just a few simple changes. I can put my pistol still in it. I can obviously still put a rifle straight across it, which is fantastic. And because it's clamped on, I take this off and stick it over on a workbench and do something different with it if I needed to. So kudos to a nice tool that I've really enjoyed from the LCA company. They've done a nice job, but that doesn't mean, you know, a BAP or an OMP or whatever. They're not bad either. They're fantastic vices. Again, piece of advice: if you're buying a piece of bow equipment, buy your vise before a press. It's just the way it is. It's a much needed tool. So you can see I got the foot pedal there on the floor. That's where I'm operating the cutting saw there for my arrows. It's great. You know, maybe what I'll do here is I'm going to back up for a second and take a shot. I'll quick grab my ruler and we'll quick measure this because I think I'm about, I don't even think I'm 24 inches wide. It's amazing how much you can compact into something to save yourself room. But I'll get a tape measure out here, and let's see here. I'm a little over 24 inches. So I think I'm 25 inches going that way roughly. And this side, so 39, just shy of 40 inches. So this whole table sitting in here, 25 to 40 inches. It's got the bow press, it's got the vise on it. It's running a height of about 62 inches tall, 64 if you count the arrows. And it's all compact, it's all in one place. It's got some storage for bags and all my stuff. What a nice little setup. I got glues, paper towels, insertion stuff, serving on it, D-loop stuff. It's just a little way to clean up the shop and make it really work for me, folks. I hope if you run with this idea and you need anything, you can look in my comments below and find the items I used. You can see I spent about $1,000 and stayed in budget. I really appreciate you watching, folks. I hope you enjoyed my video. Thanks.